Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LTA 2025 matchup.
At second place due to the tiebreaker rules,
of the
so they
tiebreak.
have to
Okay.
get a 2-0, but it's still up for grabs, which is kind of crazy. But on the other side, if FlyQuest wins, that means Shopify is going to end up second in the group. So it is a big surprise either way.
For anybody wondering how we're talking about these tiebreaker rules, by the way, if you end up with tied actual series records, it goes down to how many individual games you've won.
Mm-hmm.
So a 1-2 loss is worth more than a 0-2 loss. That's how that's all shaken out. That's why 100 Thieves aren't in the conversation anymore. That's why it's either Shopify or Dig. But it doesn't matter now. We still got
in the One costume.
we still got the game to play first. So let's see how this one goes. It's Yone, Nefiri, and Vi banned out by FlyQuest on the blue side. Dignitas going to respond with some very different bans compared to what we normally get at the start with the Yorick, the Corki, and that Cassiopeia pocket pick from Quad.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with the York, and they also, don't want to deal with the Cassio, as we see Varus locked in for Masu, and that is a great sign. And then the Jace locked in for Dignitas, actually.
That's what I was going to say is, to me, the York ban signifies you want to play Jace, right?
Yeah.
But now, it's going to be Varus Ezreal trade. I feel like we're just going to get a Sion. Bwipo really does like Sion into this matchup. And it is one of the advantages that FlyQuest have. When you have these kind of unique champion combo pairings of like, okay, well, we don't want to give Quad Cassio. We don't want to give Bwipo York. All of a sudden, a lot of the meta champions become, much more available. You don't actually have bans for everything. So I would not be surprised to see, Xin Sion here. It feels like a really solid, 2-3 for FlyQuest. And we'll see if they want to actually go for it.
Something to keep in mind is that Jace could also be going to Kaney in the mid lane, which
also plays Sion.
Yeah, which is something we've seen previously, right? So something to keep in mind as Inspired is just going to lock in that Xin Zhao, and we'll see what we have coming through for Quad. The Hover is Azir. I can definitely just see them locking it in here, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense. I mean, Azir is obviously just so flexible. You know, it's incredibly strong in basically every single matchup.
But I feel like that also means Sion is the prime target to headshot in the second half of the bans if you're on the Dignitas side. Don't allow Bwipo to have that matchup that, like you already said, Isaac, he seems to be very comfortable in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the question for Dignitas is, are you going to match mid lane or are you going to match jungle? And they do elect to go for the Sejuani here, so they are going to be locking that in. It does feel like then, for Dignitas side, you would be targeting top lane bans, and for FlyQuest side, you'd be banning out mid laners, very likely.
Yeah, we'll see where they also think this Jace is going to, right? Because in picking their junglers, we see the Sion taken off the list. They do still leave that option open to flex, especially since they are on the red side that will have last pick.
All right, FlyQuest. Let's see what they want to aim for here. Are they buying that the Jace could potentially be a swap, or do they think it's 100% just the top lane pick for Surdy?
I mean, Kaney played it last week, so it definitely can be swapped around, but I do feel like there's higher chances of it going top lane.
And I like the Taliyah ban here because I feel like every single time we see an Azir matchup, we see Taliyah picked as the answer into it. So they're just saying, hey, even if the Jace is a swap, we're going to go ahead and just cover this incredibly common response.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it can just be one of these things where it's like, okay, if you're going to double ban mid lane and take away those options, then Kaney will just play the Jace mid. If you double ban top lane and you're saying, okay, we're going to try to force that mid, well, then he's just going to play a top lane, right? So you can kind of, react to it in that way. And that's one of the advantages that Dignitas do have for being on red side is they are going to be able to flex around the Jace and potentially get, a counter pick here on that last pick.
Okay, Karma banned out, last ban of the draft here for Dignitas. FlyQuest running the clock all the way down, and Silas. Okay, so double ban mid from FlyQuest.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense with the potential Sejuani pairing that they would be a little bit nervous about that. Silas, it is another common answer into the Azir. And the Xin Zhao, being able to steal that ultimate away is really, really powerful. Silas loves being able to take Xin, Alistar, a lot of these defensive ultimates can bring a lot of power here. And you double ban mid lane, it's just going to be Victor coming through here. Very interesting.
Hey, happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Also, I've seen the Happy Mother's Day signs. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day!
Make sure you call your mom if you haven't already. Me too.
Check. Did you call your mom flowers?
I woke up 20 minutes before call time and walked over here, so I have not yet
Apologize
had
to your
the
mom. I
time.
know she watches the broadcast.
Sorry, Mom. I know that you guys like Azale better anyway, and this is probably just more points in his column. No, my parents text me to ask when Azale is casting.
That's amazing.
His parents are awesome.
That's
by the way.
so fun.
I got to meet them at one of the finals.
My parents have no idea what League of Legends is. They're still very confused about my job as we see the Nidalee coming through.
Okay, the top lane Nidalee for Whippo running this one back. The first time he played it, it wasn't the greatest results. Yes, they won, but more of in spite of the Nidalee instead of because of it. So we'll see how well Whippo can do with that one against Surdy's Jace in this game against Dignitas, as we still need to see Dig lock in that support, and they'll go with Rakan.
Yeah, and it's going to be Rakan, but it's into the Nico support, which obviously is a pretty big lane bully. Varus Nico is a really tough 2v2 to be playing against. Yes, the Ezreal can try to sit back and just kind of farm with Qs and whatnot, but Rakan early does not have a ton of pressure in that lane. So I do think it's going to be actually very difficult for Tomo and Isles, especially if Masu ends up playing, poke Varus. That is going to be a really tough 2v2. Interested to see how Whippo does bounce back on the Nidalee top. Last week, obviously, it did not really work out for them. They did win the game. It got a dub in the column, but
he has 100% LTA North win rate on it.
There you go.
Proof positive. I think the big thing, so even having watched it in LPL with the Shy, I'm sorry, I know I'm going to disappoint a ton of people by saying this. I still don't necessarily like the Nidalee top.
Oh, I hate it.
In most situations, just because it really forces you to play in a very specific way, right? And so anything that, doesn't always give you as much variety in the way that you play, I think can end up biting you sometimes when it doesn't work out. I do think, and I said this previously, that FlyQuest are really good at recognizing how to leverage that map pressure that Whippo can create.
Yeah, and I will say, as much as, there is that weak side of, okay, you know exactly how they're going to play when they do have the Nidalee, I will say the other side of that is your team also has to play a very specific way, because if you don't, you're going to get pounded by the Nidalee. Yep. It is really difficult to lane against this thing 1v1. Everyone pretty much goes Emax. You have so much sustain. It's really difficult to be able to actually stand up in that 1v1. And if Nidalee gets ahead, it can be a nightmare in the side lanes.
Yeah, that's absolutely the most obnoxious part about it.
All right, let's see how this one's going to shake out. Can Dignitas pull off what I'm sure most people are assuming is borderline impossible and 2-0 FlyQuest to lock first place in this group? Or are FlyQuest going to continue their domination? I think so much of this question hangs in the fate of the Dignitas solo laners. Last week we saw Dignitas play a close series, but both games had a problem. And the problem was each one of them had one of the solo laners really struggling. You can see here in Game 1, Surdy's Renekton was hard focused by 100 Thieves, 3-9 in that one, but then he really shapes up on the Ambessa in Game 2. Meanwhile, Kaney having a great Ahri game in Game 1, but in Game number 2, his Jace was borderline invisible. So if both of these solo laners can have an impressive performance in the same game, I think that is paramount for Dignitas to stand a chance here.
I agree, and I do think that Dignitas is getting better. You can see Whippo doing a little trick. He already has the Grasp proc ready. That's because he dropped a trap on the enemy red buff. So both that scouts out if they're going to be overrun by that red buff, but also it triggers the Grasp proc. So right off the start of the laning phase, he already has that Grasp auto ready, and it's just one of these little things that you can do to help get an advantage as that Nidalee top. It's all about just constantly poking, harassing, jumping in and out of the brushes, getting these autos down, and just triggering the Grasp over and over and over. And as he shifts into melee, you get the extra HP, I do believe. When you do actually go for that shift back into Cougar form, it counts as a melee Grasp proc.
Yeah, and it makes it so immediately Surdy doesn't get to do the auto-for-auto trade right back. Well done from Whippo up here. We'll keep an eye on how much he can abuse this laning phase with this pick, since that's what it's all about. We need to see this Nidalee building those advantages that you're talking about, Emily, in the side lane. Make it oppressive, make it impossible to deal with this guy without bringing in additional help.
Yeah, I mean, she's just so annoying, right? And we also see, we also see this up top side. We see the bot lane getting shoved in, which Azale had already kind of set up, right? This Nico Varus is so annoying, just constantly should be able to poke, push out the lane. Shaden is pathing bot. Wow. Surdy already had to blow flash.
I mean, he was getting pounded in this lane. It's like he already went through his biscuit, he already went through his potion, and he had to flash, and now he has to base on 9 CS. So his buy is going to be a refillable. Like, I don't think he can get anything else. Yeah, his buys are refillable and a pink ward, which is really, really tough. And Bwipo is just already starting this off in a fantastic spot. Obviously, he does not have a lot of CS as well. This is just one of these things where, yeah, he's not going to be farming as well, but he is just focusing on keeping Jace down, on constantly harassing Jace and putting on so much pressure that basically the Jace is bored too, and then Italy is more valuable in those situations.
We're both going to get dragged down into the muck, but Nidalee's more confident in her ability to claw back out.
It's one of these weird situations in top lane where it's like, if they just do nothing but hit you, you can't actually focus on farm, or you'll just lose the trade so hard that you're going to be forced back to base, and then they will take a farm advantage. So it ends up just being both top laners, when one opts into this, they kind of just have to fist fight.
Yeah, it turns into a brawl one way or the other. Bottom lane still continuing to trade, but it's Shaden coming topside to put a little bit of pressure here onto Bwipo. The control ward in the pixel brush means that Shaden is not seen.
And down on the bot side, we did see Inspired potentially looking for something. Like I said, he was pathing down towards that bot side, but is just going to end up backing after a full clearing and getting that crab. So
yeah,
both junglers back out on the map.
They both do the exact same thing. You do the full clear, you get the crab, you look for a gank, there's nothing there, go home.
I was really looking to see a few more creative paths, maybe.
Ooh, the heal used there from FlyQuest Busio for the extra movement speed to escape, as Isles wanted to also use his own aggressively going in for the grand entrance. And Quad is at 50 HP. This is Zir not having a great time versus the Victor.
If that E hit him, he might have died. Like,
yeah.
That was incredibly close. It would have been at least like really low health. And so definitely a lot of pressure being put on there by Kaney, but credit to Tomo and Isles. They're the ones who actually forced Masu back earlier. I definitely did not think the lane was going to go that way. They do trade heals, but Masu and Busio, Masu's going to stay around, or rather Busio's going to stay around and try to hold that wave as much as he can, but of course they are going to force it in. It is a cannon wave, so shouldn't be losing too much here, and we'll be at least able to grab that farm.
So as nothing's really going super crazy here early in the laning phase, I want to ask you guys, when we're looking at the Dignitas comp, we see clear angles for engage through the Rakan, through the Sejuani. Over on the other side, yeah, you have a couple of big mechanisms, but it's more like you have to full send a Zir in there for a shuffle, or Nico's got to find the disguise that they take the bait on. Quad thrown up into the air here from Isles, forced to flash away from the gravity well as Kaney chases him further back. Nice moves from the Dignitas support.
Yeah, really nice roam from Isles. As we see, they're already swapping their lanes, right? They're sending Tomo up to catch that top wave, and Surdy is down here on the bot side, going up against Busio and Masu. So yeah, really nice roam, recognizing how dominant Kaney has been thus far in this lane, getting that flash.
I mean, this is just fantastic, too, because he barely even wastes any time. It was super efficient. He walks straight out of base towards mid, forces the flash, goes right up to top, doesn't miss anything there. And now they're in kind of this weird situation where Bwipo goes mid because Quad was forced back. He covers the one wave. Now he's heading bot to try to set up this dive, but Shaden is here to cover. They've got to be able to pull off this dive, though, because no one is top to catch that wave.
All right, Shaden has already lost his Arctic armor. Pretty big defensive layer not available if they decide to full send this dive. And it looks like that's going to be the plan. Inspired leading the charge here at the start. Masu lands the rain of arrows. 30 first blooded immediately, and Busio barely gets away. Calculated by FlyQuest, and they aren't done yet. Shaden's still got to try to escape. The Sejuani double killed now as Masu's just getting all sorts of money. One more hit's going to be required. Isles falls, and just like that, FlyQuest have a 3-0 game.
That was huge for FlyQuest, and now Quad wants more. He's trying to get involved.
Yeah, Quad's ready to take his own fight over here in the mid lane immediately with the engage through Emperor's Divide. Defensive Chaos Storm from Kaney. Quad gets the better of that trade. Even though he cannot force out the flash from the Dignitas mid laner, he'll still be happy with the advantage.
And that dive bot was so close, right? Like Busio was this close to getting down, and then Isles coming in off the back thinking he can help is already too late. Ends up dying as well, loses flash. It was rough stuff for Dig, and now Fly 3 kills up, 1.6k up, and Feet of Warfare.
Let's kill Jace now with Nico.
Okay.
Nico, stop tanking
thanks.
anytime.
Yeah. Tanking. I'm flashing out.
Yeah, stop.
You wanna go again or no?
Oh, Kaney in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, Kaney's got to be careful, but immediately Surdy ready to try to help out his mid laner. As you can see, Bwipo jumping out of the way as the knockback was coming through from Surdy's hammer form, made it so instead of being knocked back towards the Dignitas turret, instead he's knocked away to safety.
I mean, there were so many little things about that dive. Obviously, extremely well played, very well juggled by FlyQuest. But even if they got that kill on Busio, Shaden would have hit 6 for the redive, and then maybe it's a very different story. Like, there were so many small things that could have changed it.
And this is something that I want to bring up because when FlyQuest get ahead, they tend to just absolutely dominate,
That's
right?
a lot.
So it's all of these stats in terms of their absolute like map dominance early, but then also going into today, they now have the highest goal difference at 15 as well, at 917. So just top of the league in so many of these stats. And once they get off to these early leads like this, they already have the 1.5k gold lead off of that and Feat of Warfare, like we said. They tend to not let up.
Well, Dignitas has a flower that you can see in the UI up there, so they've got something going for them as well here in this early game that honestly...
It's very Spirit Blossom.
Yeah, they're on theme for the week. I'm trying not to dog them too bad because it really has been just that one play as Quad gets a nice shuffle onto Isles back underneath the turret. It won't be enough to threaten a lethal situation, but still nicely played there from the FlyQuest mid laner.
I mean, Surdy is so incredibly low. Bwipo, if he hits anything on him, Surdy is going to get dove. So Surdy is going to have to go back to base here. It's going to be more tower damage. He can TP back, but Bwipo likely to grab this plate before he has to go back to base. They're taking grubs on the top side. They are winning out everywhere. It really was, as you say, just that one play, but that one play has completely exploded the game for Dig.
It was a huge play, right?
Yeah.
Like, it completely just took over everything. And now, yeah, like you say, all 3 grubs go over to FlyQuest. There's no response on the Drake in retaliation from Dignitas. So FlyQuest just getting everything they want here in the first 10 minutes of the game. The side lane Nidalee for Bwipo working out great so far in these early stages, like we were talking about. The immediate rush on the plated steel caps for the extra mobility and survivability in these quick, short, bursty trades, doing a lot.
Oh, Shaden looking.
Yeah, Shaden has found his way into the mid lane finally. Dignitas are on the board as Shaden sets it up for Kaney to get paid.
Yeah, nice response from Dig, right? Recognizing they have, it's not like they haven't been trying to do things, right? Like they have. Shaden recognizes he can go for that. They had set it up previously with Surdy able to push in that bot wave, and now we'll see if they end up going for this Drake as well. So they might at least be able to trade the objective, but FlyQuest looks like they might be looking to at least set up some vision here.
Yeah, I mean, Masu already has the Umbral Glaive, obviously a very cheap one-item spike here, but he has completed that. He got 2 kills on the dive, so he's in a great spot. And with the pressure they had through Nidalee and bot, I mean, Surdy is locked under his tower permanently. Inspired just going to be able to take the dragon, no problem. Yep. They are looking really, really good with how they're moving the game forward. Surdy has to go back to base again, and it feels like he just TP'd back after getting harassed down. He knows there is a potential of a dive because they're taking dragon, so they're just going to force this.
I mean, you can just look at the cooldown of his teleport to see the story of how this lane goes, right? If you TP and you're already back in base before the cooldown is 1/4 done, something has gone terribly wrong.
And I mean, one of the most frustrating things about playing against this AD Nidalee is it's like, Steel Caps rush into Sheen, and it's like, what are you supposed to outplay? You're just getting right-clicked, right? Like
She's full build.
It's not even about spears. Like, you don't have to hit spears. You don't have to do anything. You're just dropping traps, and you're just autoing the person over and over and over and out-sustaining them. So it's very, very difficult. There's not a lot of champions that can kind of just straight up scrap with the Nidalee, but it is a pick that you have to have a lot of confidence with, because if you mess up, if you die, if you're getting ganked, you don't have really anything besides this kind of power in that side lane.
Yeah, you start off slightly ahead of the curve compared to everybody else, and you need to stay there, because otherwise your character is a very fancy ranged minion, and that's not exactly conducive.
Who can turn into a melee minion.
Yes, both minions at once, which unfortunately a minion wave going from 6 to 8 doesn't win you the game in the side
transformer.
lane. Yeah, exactly. Not exactly the recipe for success on Summoner's Rift, but FlyQuest have been finding so much success here in these first 12 minutes. Nearly a 2,000 gold lead. They got all the grubs. They got the first Drake. And I think that that's a great example of what you were talking about, Emily, with the stats. I feel like it's so rare to see a team get both of the first neutral objectives with no contest for either one.
Yeah, and I do really like, again, not a huge fan of the top lane Nidalee. However, FlyQuest do really know how to push their advantages and play around it, as we see them on this jungle invade, really making it so that Whippo can push in and potentially get first turret off of this as well.
And FlyQuest know best of 5s are coming, right? And they're going to be in playoffs guaranteed. You know, they're already going to be top 2 for sure. And like Busio was saying in the interview with me, is that they're also looking forward to best of 5s when you're getting to a game 4 potentially, you're getting to a game 5 potentially. You have to have more tricks in the bag, right? Like you can't just go towards the standard meta picks. So even if you want to make the argument that like Nidalee maybe isn't the best for a game 1, hey, maybe it's the best pick available for a game 4 or a game 5. And I do think it's really cool that they're building up more and more of these picks that you really have to respect and worry about when you go against FlyQuest, because that's just going to open the door for so many of these standard meta drafts for them to just clobber you with too.
Yeah, and as we talk about just like split pushing in general, I actually think this has been a huge difference maker when we have been talking about maybe teams that have been struggling a bit more in the standings as opposed to the top teams like FlyQuest, is just their ability to essentially make, in this case, force Dignitas into making bad choices or having very narrow windows with leveraging their map pressure.
And it's one of the things I actually really like about the new season is that I think the fact that there are less objectives, that there's not these early lane swaps and everything, these sort of changes have allowed us to see more of these aggressive side lane picks that want to be glued to that side lane, that need to be bullying. If you're just getting lane swapped on, you're not playing AD Nidalee.
Surdy just hit Whippo with the accelerated shock blast, and Whippo healed it off with a single cast
and then he
of
Sheen
the
autos.
Primal Surge, and he Sheen autos to then win the trade. It's so obnoxious to deal with this Nidalee in the 1v1. Nobody has managed to successfully alleviate that pressure on Surdy yet, and that means Whippo is honestly one more push away from taking the turret. Here he is. The last auto attack will seal the deal, and now Surdy surely knows he doesn't win the fight anymore. Too low on mana, fighting the top side. His squad dies. Dignitas making the move with the multi-dive there from everybody else on the team as Whippo continues the chase after Surdy, who does escape. So Dignitas at least get a kill back on the other side of the map, but FlyQuest will lock in for first turret and secure the feats.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get this first turret, they'll get feats, they still have map pressure. Whippo's actually able to push that wave all the way in on the bot side. Masu is just chilling, like, at the mid lane turret, right? Like, he's just been shoving waves into this, so that is what I'm talking about with, again, Dig do see an opportunity to get something, right? They do end up getting a kill, but they're not even, they have to reset immediately. They don't even get the wave in on the top side, and now FlyQuest are going to have first rotation onto this Rift Herald.
Yeah, Dignitas at least approaching to potentially contest this one. Let's see if FlyQuest allow them to do so. Inspired's already got the Herald most of the way down as Masu and Busio just run interference. Nobody from Dignitas can even get there in time to try to stop the take of the objective. Whippo's here on the flank as Shaden now trying the front line here for the Dignitas side. Inspired immediately dropping the Crescent Guard, keeping himself alive as Whippo has to retreat. Surdy's joined the fight. Accelerated Shock Blast just doesn't do a ton of damage, though. So Dignitas, they try to get something off the back end of things, but FlyQuest fight their way out. They'll take the Herald, no casualties.
Going to be feeling pretty good about that. And I mean, on the Dignitas side, I think you're just hoping that this Nidalee, isn't going to scale that well. They can kind of keep the game pretty stable. Yes, you are behind now, but you do have an advantage for Kaney. You got the early road. That's stacking up. He's working in towards his Leandries. 2-0 is the only person with the lead, but the lead on the Nidalee is going to mean less and less. Once Surdy gets to a point where he can kind of just one-shot the waves and just, really just kind of stall out what Whippo is doing, the game should get easier for Dignitas, so I think that's really what they're going to be hoping for.
Well, right now, though, Whippo is on that Trinity Force power spike, and even though Surdy is close enough, is caught up enough to have his own first fully completed item, it's still pretty scary to continue to deal with these Trinity Force procs. It's still obnoxious in the 1v1. I feel like Whippo will probably still be able to continue putting on this pressure for quite a while, as Dignitas now, they've got another neutral objective they have to try to contend with, as Inspired and FlyQuest are starting up the second Drake of the game. Isles jumps in, going after Masu. Busio's Pop Blossom finds nothing. Beautiful counterattack from Shaden to lock him into the Glacial Prison. Isles barely gets away with 50 HP, but the Drake has already been slain by Inspired, and now Dignitas has to be careful. Whippo's still looking to find a little bit more as Inspired chases after Shaden, and Whippo flashes over the wall to find the kill. Now the second one comes through for the top laner as Isles finally falls. Quad walks away with 20 HP, and Whippo is not done yet. The Nidalee continues putting the pressure on as Dignitas are forced further and further back.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of how this could potentially get scary for FlyQuest, right? Especially when that Pop Blossom ends up missing, but they're still able to get the Drake. when Bwipo joins, again, like when Nidalee joins, she has to be able to do something, right? Because that's when you're giving up your split push pressure. You don't want her over joining. He's able to get that kill on the backside as we take a look at that fight again.
I just really like how Isles and Shaden were able to play out the initial phase here.
Yeah.
Really well done. Battle dance out to safety. Shaden re-engages. They lock down Busio, burst him down. But you did spend a lot. You spent the ultimates from multiple members just to kill the support. Then Bwipo arrives here, and he just starts kind of harassing them, chasing after them. You have so much movement speed in these situations to chase after your opponents. Bwipo flashes over the walls, able to finish them off, and then Quad going in, putting the pressure on. Barely survives that last auto.
Ooh, Isles jumping back to the safety of Surdy. And yeah, talking about the autos, it was just a Trinity auto that killed the last 200 or so HP that Isles had after Bwipo jumped after him. He misses the Nidalee spells. Isles jumps out of the way, but the spear is in the air, and that auto attack's going to buffer through.
The spell is just to give you the shoot proc.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's all it's for. It makes your hand glow red,
Yes.
and then you get to kill the guy with a 300 damage auto.
And guess what? FlyQuest are first to 3 turrets again.
Yeah, it's looking like those stats aren't really lying here, Emily. I think that FlyQuest might be pretty good about playing the map when they get those early leads. 18.5 minutes into the game, 3,000 gold ahead, all the grubs, both of the Drakes so far, 3 turrets to 1, and we want to see how well they can keep this pressure on. This is not a team that I feel like traditionally struggles a lot when it comes to keeping that pressure on. I feel like they have been one of the better macro teams in the league for quite a while. So I expect to see Dignitas really have to scramble now to stop this bleeding.
Exactly. I mean, it's just so much more difficult, too, because Dignitas wasn't able to get any early dragons to stop a march towards Soul. Like, there's a lot of poke, a lot of harassment that, you know, is available in this FlyQuest comp, and it's Infernal Soul, right? And they already have 2 super fast dragons, so they're going to be working towards that. It's not going to be, you know, a very hard way to move the game forward. It's just super clear. FlyQuest is going to show up to every single objective and basically say, all right, you got to outfight us. And you're going to be having to do it down a lot of gold.
Yeah, it's tough. That Victor that you talked about earlier for Caney, still the lone point of strength for Dignitas with a 700 gold lead here. But you can see Surdy has not found the point where he can deal with Bwipo at all. Just running down the J. So much damage with Masu to help out. Bwipo goes on a killing spree, and Surdy has no home here on Summoner's Rift. Bwipo has kicked him out of the top lane, kicked him out of the jungle, and continues his reign of terror in the side lane.
Oh, it's just so miserable.
It's the worst.
When this Nidalee works, it's awful.
Nice engage coming out there from Shaden to try to catch Quad, but it's not enough. The follow-up damage can only take him to half HP, and Isles dies trying to get in.
And look at top. You're going to lose that top lane tier 2 as well. That's going to be solo gold for Bwipo. Pretty much guaranteed. They can't get up there, so he is going to get even more rich. He was already way ahead. Killed off Surdy with the help of Masu, and they know you have to answer top, so Inspire just goes bot. Yep. Quad is down here. Masu is moving. This is a free Otacon, and this is FlyQuest, I think, taking an insurmountable lead in game 1.
I do love to see it because I love when teams actually use their split push pressure correctly, right? Like, I really, really love what FlyQuest have been doing.
Are you sure it's not because you hate top laners and want to see them suffer?
I have to eat my words maybe on the Nidalee top for this game only. But I do think, again, like, this is exactly what you are supposed to do with that pressure, right? And maybe I do like to see top laners in Sparrow. I don't know, Azael.
Well, while Emily praises the Nidalee, I'm going to take this moment to apologize on behalf of the entire league for the amount of top lane Nidalee you're all about to have in solo queue this evening.
It's already been pretty bad, honestly.
Well, I think it might get a little bit worse.
Get auto attack, buddy.
After this one, yeah, it's about auto attack o'clock in top lane this evening. As Bwipo has set up a massive advantage. There is a 5,000 gold lead for FlyQuest. There is a 3.5, almost 4,000 gold lead for Bwipo.
I mean, one of the things we talked about coming into this is that Dignitas has the slowest games. FlyQuest has the fastest games. And this is feeling like it's a little bit towards the left here, then more so towards the right. We'll see if Dignitas can stall this one out, but it is such a big early lead for FlyQuest, and they're moving towards Soul. Third Dragon's available. They're fighting for it.
Inspire jumps in. Has to drop the Crescent Guard pretty quickly, though. He gets dropped to 40% as he tries to find that initial engage. The rest of FlyQuest isn't there for the immediate follow-up, so Inspired just going to use the chicken camp there to fuel back up a little bit, siphon some HP. Dignitas are starting up the Dragon, and FlyQuest don't want to allow them to stop that Soul stack. Bwipo making his way forward towards the Dignitas lines. Chains of Corruption finding massive pop blossom from Busio. He's on a rampage, and Dignitas is on a one-way road to the cemetery. solitary. A beautiful engage from the FlyQuest support. It costs his life, but it does not matter. It's a 5-for-1. Triple kill for Masu. Double kill for Busio. Massive team fight for Fly.
It is crazy because when you see a fight like that, you're like, that's going to be Baron 2. Baron has not even spawned. They're just going to go for the base here. They take the tier 2 mid. They take the tier 2 bot. They're going for the inhibitor towers as well. FlyQuest are stomping Dig in game 1.
And what a stunning team fight with this coordination, right? Because initially Inspired goes in, he has to pop the Crescent Guard, the rest of the team isn't there. Dig actually does get the first rotation on that Drake, right? And they're so patient in waiting for their moment, as we can see in this replay, when Shaden ult, then here goes Busio with the Pop Blossom. Quad's already flying in for his ult.
Yeah, that was just perfectly coordinated. I mean, Masu had already hit the ulti on Kaney, then Busio goes in, Quad sees the angle as well. He's right in on top, everything stacked perfectly. They just erase them off the map. It is nearly a 5,000 gold lead in top lane at this point. Just insane. I'm pretty sure Bwipo is going to have his third item probably when he bases, and Surdy is still on 1 in pieces, so this is looking crazy.
I mean, we said that FlyQuest was going to try to stack Drakes and Dignitas had to stop them. They technically stopped the Drake stack. Now Masu trying to get away as Shaden goes for the engage. Masu using both summoner spells there. Looked like the cleanse might have been slightly early. Still able to stick it around a little bit as now Isles too far forward might just get punished. Quad goes in for the shuffle back onto Shaden as well. Isles is the only one to drop right now, but Bwipo is not happy with that. Going to continue keeping the pressure on, going after Shaden. Jumps forward yet again. He has no mana, but he does not need it. The right click dominates the top lane in game number 1, and Bwipo is making it look easy. Nearly a 10,000 gold lead for FlyQuest.
Click, click, boom, and gets him with another auto. Bwipo now sitting on 2,500 gold in pocket. He's going to go back to base, finish another item as FlyQuest out of control. And Masu, what a change of corruption on the engage from Isles. Anticipated Isles going for the engage, and he just hits him out of the air. It's like Duck Hunt out here.
That was an insane ult to save his life. And then it also allows Quad to come in, right? And so, yeah, I mean, they're just in such a good spot. That looked like it could be, okay, we get a pick. Maybe we'll be able to reset on the map from Dig. Nope.
All right, FlyQuest, now that Baron is live, again, they're in the enemy jungle. Again, Isles is about to die. Luckily, barely survives that one. The heal is enough to keep him going. But FlyQuest, having forced back one of the main Dignitas initiation tools, now feel even more confident continuing to move forward. Bwipo doesn't care how much of his health he has to trade away as long as he doesn't die. And Sterix guarantees there's no way to actually kill him. He'll continue to spam those heals as FlyQuest move back towards the Baron and keep Dignitas zoned out of the jungle.
I mean, he's got Sterix and he's got the tier 3 boots for the shielding as well. Plus, he's got double buffs right now, so he's not going to have any problems at all. Just keep these fights going and going and going. And he's basically just trying to force them to use resources on him. He's just going to keep scrapping you, jump over the wall, force you to waste cooldowns.
Yeah, and you can see the follow-up from Kaney's laser and Surdy's shock blast and the true shot barrage from Tomo all hit him. He's still not afraid of anything. He's still got 25% HP left, and that's enough. And again, the chains of corruption from Masu just immediately deny Isles any opportunity for entry into the fight as Tomo goes after the FlyQuest AD carry and he finds the kill, but it'll be AD for AD. The Varus and the Ezreal both fall, but FlyQuest have secured the Baron.
Yeah, playing with fire a little bit on the back end of that. Masu does end up going down, but that entire time, Inspired is on the Baron, Quad joins him. They're two-manning it as the rest of FlyQuest are keeping Dignitas out. They're in absolute control of this game.
This one's
It's I feel very repetitive right now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, FlyQuest have just owned the game from the very beginning, right? Ever since that dive bottom lane at the tier 1 turret got them the 3 kills, ever since they barely get away, like calculating it, you know, Busio barely survives flashing out of the turret range. The game has just been in their control. That was a 1,500 gold lead after that play finished. The gold lead never shrank from there. It just kept climbing and climbing and climbing, and so much of it is on this top lane situation for Bwipo versus Surdy. Dignitas, they banned the Yorick, they wanted to play the Jace, they thought they had it figured out, and Bwipo just immediately sat him down.
I mean, they didn't even just ban the Yorick, they banned the Sign as well. They banned 2 of Bwipo's biggest answers to the pick, and he's like, great. Here's number 3.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to deal with these guys with these super deep champion pools for all these situations. Jace is historically such a difficult character to deal with in lane matchups. Yeah, he's great for those types of situations, but if you can prove, hey, this is no longer a safe blind pick versus our team, that's a massive advantage in drafts.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where sometimes, you know, it's frustrating when people talk about a solo queue picks on work.
Inspired has already gone in for a big engage here with a crescent sweep as Isles has to try to escape, and Shaden's now the target here on the front line. The Sejuani's about to die, but both the Rakan and Sejuani survive as the shutdown on Inspired comes through for Kaney. FlyQuest may have overextended a little bit here, got a little bit too hypey, but Bwipo is not one to slow down, continuing to find the damage, and the spear, the Q secures the kill on Kaney as FlyQuest continue to retreat, and Boostio with another massive Pop Blossom, quad flies in, and Dignitas fall to pieces. A beautiful ulti from the Nico of Boostio for the second time this game, and this time it's gonna seal the deal. Only Shaden's left alive. That Sejuani ain't leaving the fountain, and FlyQuest 28 minutes in, 19-6. Game 1 was easy for him.
Beautiful game from FlyQuest. I'm so mad at Bwipo right now that I have to eat my words about the Nidalee top.
I mean, he was smurfing, man. I'm not mad about it at all.